Hello, everyone. Welcome to my presentation on the Mughal Empire and how it affects modern day Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. So, for my project, I attended the Mughal art exhibition at Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. It was a limited time event, so it was really cool to experience. It was located in Richmond, Virginia, and I went July 17th at 10 a.m. Richmond is really diverse culturally, so it would only be appropriate that our museum would be really diverse. They have all types of art from Africa, Japan, India, pretty much everywhere. It's really a great place to be, and that is why I picked it for my assignment. They also have a focus on art, dance, music from other cultures, so it's really just everything. These are a few pictures that the museum took of the exhibition that are higher quality. On the top left, we have a beautiful rug tapestry, and you can see how the exhibition was really dark. It was very moody. I really liked it. On the top right, there is some silver platters and stuff from the Mughal Empire, and the bottom left is a tapestry of a zebra. And on the bottom right, it's a beautiful jewelry box. These are some books from the event. They were really cool to peruse through. I honestly wish I could have bought them. They were lovely. So, why did I choose this event? Throughout my life, I've been really interested in ancient Egypt, Greece, Asia, parts of Japan. That's just always been my thing. I'm a huge history buff, but I feel like I've never really taken the time to delve into the Middle East or any Muslim cultures at all. I kind of feel like I've missed out on learning about the Middle East in school. We never really learned about their history. The Mughal Empire took place in the modern Middle East and India, so Afghanistan, Pakistan, parts of India, and they're still affected today by this culture. It's relevant because of recent wars, cultural erasure, and especially all of the war and conflict going on in the Middle East. Over time, this magnificent culture kind of faded away because of conflict, but it does remain in tradition. It was really exciting to see this exhibition. I loved looking at the ancient art and learning about the history, especially history that hasn't really been talked about by America because we've honestly always been at war. I really liked seeing the religious Islamic text. I'm not really familiar with Islam, so I thought it was really, really cool to see like all of their writing and literature and stuff. During the exhibition, there was a feeling of reverence and respect, and all of the cultural items were framed beautifully. So I really got to walk around and take it in, and I really enjoyed it. It's very calm, quiet, and dark. And after the exhibition, I walked out with a whole new perspective on the effects of war in the Middle East. I overall just got a lot out of it, especially for cultural attunement reasons. So essentially, the Mughal Empire is, like I said, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and India. It was one of the most magnificent and influential dynasties. It took place from 1526 to 1857. And many of the traditions in the Middle East and India were actually created by the Mughal Empire. They are essentially the basis of the culture. The Mughal Empire was defined by architecture, textiles, traditions, just a lot of things that they contributed to the world. They created the Taj Mahal and countless forms of literature and art that define the Middle East and South Asia today. They were also the basis of the Islamic religion, and their languages included Hindu, Persian, Chagatai Turkish. And one thing that I'm a huge fan of, they introduced war elephants into warfare, which I think is really cool. The essential like basis of the Mughal Empire, which was led by Emperor Akbar, his famous quote is "Let us all be one," which I really love. Per global history, the Mughal dynasty emerged as a result of the conquests of Zahir-ud-Din Babur, who established the Mughal Empire in 1526 after defeating the Lodi dynasty at the Battle of Panipat. Following Babur, the dynasty reached its zenith under the reign of emperors such as Akbar, Jahangir, and Shah Jahan. Each of these rulers made significant contributions to the development of culture and art. So the Middle East has faced a lot of oppression from all types of places, not just America, especially historically. They were battling India, surrounding areas, Turkey. It was a lot. One of the main issues right now is the Taliban occupation in Afghanistan. Per the Human Rights Watch, the Taliban authorities maintain a ban on secondary and higher education for girls and women. The Ministry for the Propagation of Virtue and Prevention of Vice imposed further restrictions on women's freedom of expression by banning women's voices from being heard or reciting the Quran or singing in public. Women who defied these rules faced abuse and arbitrary detention. There is also a huge market in artifact trafficking, which I was not aware of. Essentially, they smuggle and sell artifacts illegally, and also 22 million people have been affected by food insecurity just this year. In addition, there's also been a lot of war and conflict ever since 9/11. America was at war with Afghanistan for 20 years, resulting in a huge humanitarian crisis. There are so many people in poverty, they don't have access to health care, and they don't have access to food. And the Taliban crashed the economy, essentially, by denying aid from other countries. However, the Middle East and India do have a lot of historical strengths, such as their art, religion, literature, and war tactics. The Middle East has strengths in resistance and protesting for women's rights. The NRF and AFF continue to conduct attacks against Taliban forces, and they are very rich in copper, ore, minerals, and generally the population has been really resilient overall. In India, India has 20,000 different cultures, which I think is a huge strength. Their population is 1.3 billion, coming second only to China. It is the birthplace of major religions like Buddhism, Sikhism, Islam. They have a huge film industry, and they have a very successful democratic framework. So, two policies I want to discuss are the curriculum changes and the preservation for monuments. For their art preservation, they have the Taj Mahal, they have gardens, art, sculptures, and they're all legally protected throughout the Middle East and India. Article 49 of the Constitution places a duty on the state to protect monuments, places, and objects of artistic or historic interest declared to be of national importance. This provision forms the constitutional basis for legislative measures such as the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act of 1958, and it guides the state in ensuring preservation of cultural heritage. Another thing I want to discuss is curriculum changes in India. The Mughal Empire topics have actually been removed from a lot of the textbooks in India, and people are working to get them restored. They essentially took out the Mughal Empire topics because it negates Muslim rule. They also worry that fascist ideology is misappropriated by history. So, on a micro, meso, and macro scale, social workers can become culturally attuned in all scopes of practice. In micro work, we can address identity trauma with clients, especially people who have been in war. They have had a lot of negative experiences with conflict. So, I feel like interacting person to person, and helping them with their identity would be really beneficial. In meso practice, we can be aware of curriculum changes in schools. We can definitely pay attention to those, and we can connect with other educators about their curriculums. On a macro scale, national policy analysis, I feel, would be the most beneficial because we can really see how other countries are dealing with certain things and compare and contrast about the Middle East and America and where we stand in national policy. In my application of social work, I want to be a therapist. So I want to enforce trauma informed practice in a socio political context. I really want to be trauma informed, especially when dealing with people from other cultures, because I don't have a ton of cultural experience. I am white, just American, and I haven't really been open with a lot of other cultures, so I want to make sure that I'm culturally attuned and that I can stay informed while also helping other people with their trauma. Also, I want to address generational trauma. I have this amazing quote from um, the HRW. It says, "I just want someone to hear my voice. I'm in pain, and I'm not the only one." The words of an Afghan university student in an interview that reflect how, after decades of conflict, Afghans today are crippled with mental health issues. Shockingly, it's believed that more than half the population suffers from depression, anxiety, and post traumatic stress disorder. 85% of the Afghan population has experienced or witnessed at least one traumatic event and averaged four. Overall, this project really did a lot for my cultural humility. I learned a ton about power, privilege, and just casual cultural erasure that has been a thing for a really long time. I feel like I've engaged with the cultural community, and that requires assessment of my own biases. And I honestly just got a ton out of this whole thing. I really enjoyed, especially doing the research for this project. I learned so much. And overall, I believe that social work is the framework of practicing cultural humility by examining our own position in history and bridging the gap between socio-political conflict and cultural attunement. Thank you for watching.